Hello, everyone, and welcome to the IELTS Insider channel. My name is James, and a very good morning, or good afternoon, or good evening to you, wherever you are in the world. So, today we are going to be looking at 10 tips to increase your IELTS listening band score. So basically, we'll go through each tip. If you've got any questions, that's completely fine. You can write those questions in the chat, and I will answer as many questions as I can as we go through today's video. So what we'll be doing is a short introduction to the listening test. Then I'll give you my top 10 tips. We'll be doing some Q&A all through today's lesson, so please keep those questions coming in on the chat. And at the end of today's lesson, I will give you a homework assignment. Please remember to click the like button and subscribe to our YouTube channel and our Facebook page as well. Also, in the video description, you can find links to our website and to our WhatsApp group and to basically all of the ways that you can catch us on social media. So, before we get started with the lesson, I can see we have quite a few comments coming in. Layla is saying, "Hi, James. I hope you're doing well." Yes, I am doing very, very well. Oh, Layla's also said, "Sorry, I won't be able to join today. So I will watch this live stream later because today we have a holiday." Okay. Very good, Layla. And thank you very much for letting me know that you cannot attend today's live stream. I hope you really enjoy your holiday today. Sleepwalker is here, and Sleepwalker is saying, "Hello, everyone." Hello, Sleepwalker. James, hi. And Sleepwalker's saying hello to Layla as well. Anna Maria is here. Good morning from my side. Hello, James, Layla, and Sleepwalker. Well, hello, Anna Maria. I hope you are doing well today. And there's a lot of things going on here. James, the IELTS result is valid only for 2 years, right? That's something I will check on. I believe there is a time limit. I think a lot of this depends on what you are using that for. But I don't know for sure the validity of the IELTS test. I think it's something that could vary between places. For example, if you're going for immigration or applying for a university. So I'm not sure about the validity. That's something I will check out and let you know about in a future video. Hello all, Shaw English Online. Hi, sir. Priyanka, nice to see you today, Priyanka. And oh, Robin is giving the answer. So Shaw English Online, yes, 2 years. Okay. So there we do have an answer to your question, Sleepwalker. The IELTS result is valid only for 2 years. Robin has helped me out there by explaining that is the case. So we've got started and we've done the introductions. So let's go on to today's lesson. So I thought what would be useful would be to look at a little bit of the background of the test. And the reason I'm doing this is because it's going to be really important for one of today's top tips. So, the listening test format, you're going to listen to 4 recordings. All of these recordings will have native English speakers. You will hear each recording only once, and you will answer 10 questions for each of those recordings. So that's the first thing we need to know. You will have around 30 seconds to preview the questions before the recording starts. This is very important. The questions will appear in the order that they occur during the recording. So, if a question is at the beginning, you should be listening near the beginning to answer that question. You will have 30 minutes to answer all of the questions from the 4 different parts, and you will have 10 minutes to transfer your answers to your exam paper. That is if you are doing the paper test. If you're doing the computer-based test, you will be typing your answers as you go along. So, the recording types are also important to know. Each recording will become more difficult as the test progresses. Therefore, part 1 is the easiest, part 4 is the most difficult. So, what are these recordings? Well, parts 1 and 2 will deal with everyday situations. Recording 1 is a conversation between 2 people in an everyday social context. And here are some examples like booking a trip, asking for information. Recording 2 is a monologue set around a general everyday topic. So it could be someone giving a speech about local facilities, explaining a tour, giving some general advice. So the important difference here between 1 and 2 is this is a conversation, usually between 2 people. Recording 2 will be one person speaking only. Parts 3 and 4 will be based around academic situations. So, recording 3 will be a conversation again, and this could be between 2 or 3, maybe even 4 people, and they'll be talking about something in an educational or training context. So it could be a student talking about their assignments, it could be talking about presentations, university courses. So the important difference here between parts 1 and 2 is this is going to be based around an educational topic or an academic situation. So again, um, recording 3 will be a conversation between some people. Recording 4 will be a monologue again. So a monologue simply meaning one person speaking. So it could be a university lecture or a presentation. And usually the topics here are quite specific. It could be a lecture on the environment or a lecture on computer systems. So it might be quite technical and a little bit more difficult than the other recordings you hear in the IELTS listening exam. So, those are the 4 types of recording, and there are 6 main question types that you will have to answer. So, our first question type is multiple choice questions, and usually they will be A, B, C answers. Sometimes I think it goes to D, but usually A, B, C. We have some matching questions, diagram labeling, table completion, sentence completion, short answer questions. So I have done another live stream on these question types. So please, if you want to know more about the question types, go and visit the IELTS Insider YouTube channel, and you will be able to find a video called the IELTS Listening Test Explained, and it goes into a lot more detail and gives some examples of these 6 different types of question. So, why am I telling you all of this? Well, that is going to be our first tip today. So, we're going to go on to our top 10 IELTS listening tips. And the first tip today is know the test. It's so important that you understand what you're going to be doing before you even go into the test. So, you need to know what types of recordings there are, what types of questions there are, what are the time limits? Is there a transfer time for my answers? If so, how long is that time? So, this is number one for a reason. It's so important that you prepare yourself for the test, not just studying the answers, but things like where is the test center? How long does it take for me to get to that test center? Am I taking the computer test or am I taking a paper test? When is my exam time? Remember as well, the listening test will be on the same day as the reading and writing tests. The speaking test will be on a different day, usually. So make sure you know everything you can about the test before you even think about taking the test. Learn about it. So here are some questions you should be able to answer. If you know the answer to all of these questions, then you should be prepared. So, how long is the test? Well, I've told you at the beginning of today's lesson 30 minutes. Okay. Um, what's the format? Well, I've already told us here there will be 4 recordings, 1, 2, 3, 4, and each recording you will have 10 questions for each one. So 40 questions in total. Um, how many recordings are there? What kind of recordings are they? So, again, I've explained that in my introduction today. There are 4 recordings, 2 conversations, and 2 monologues. 2 parts are about everyday topics. 2 parts are about academic topics. What skills will be tested? Well, we know, can you match? Can you identify information? So the types of questions, they are showing the types of skills you will need. Um, what skills do you need to answer the questions? Well, you need to be able to follow a conversation. You need to be able to find general details and specific details. You may also need to listen for the order that things happen in as well. And will you have time to transfer your answers? Well, yes, if you are taking the paper test, and no if you're taking the computer test. I believe in the computer test, you do get a little bit of time at the end to check some things, but you don't get a transfer time like you do in the paper test. So, this is the first tip today. Make sure you know the test and you are fully prepared before you take that test. Nothing should surprise you on the day of the test. So, tip number one, know the test. Okay, tip number two, read the questions carefully. Look for keywords. Try to predict the type of answer. Maybe it's a time or a date, a place or a name. Look for word limits. So at the top of the question, you may see a sentence like this: no more than two words and or a number. Make sure you read these things very, very carefully. If you misread the question, you could end up answering incorrectly and lose some points. So, two things here: reading the questions carefully, but also try to read them as quickly as you can. Scan the questions for the important information. Look for the key words. So, I've got an example question here. So, in the exam, you would have about 20 to 30 seconds to read this. So, we don't want to read every single thing here. But the first thing we should be looking at is this sentence: no more than three words and or a number. So that's telling us the answers can be one word, two words, three words, or a number. So this is really important. Make sure you read this first. Then we look down. We've got one, two, three, four, five, six questions. So, National Arts Centre, it's well known for. So, what do you think it's going to be well known for? We could make a guess here. Is it well known for painting, music, something like that? Um, the complex consists of concert room, theatre, art galleries. Okay. So this is going to be another place. The answer is going to be similar to these answers. So we should think quickly when we do this. Historical background. Well, we can see some dates here. Um, so maybe this is what we've got. In the 1960s, the center was something. So this is going to be important. The 1960s, we should be listening for that. Something was open to the public in, well, we should be listening for a date here, I think. We've got managed by, open. Okay, we've got big clues here, days per year. So this is going to be a number here. So that's what I mean by reading the questions carefully and trying to identify the important information. Make sure you read the word limits and make sure you can read quickly and identify what are the key words, what we should be listening for. So, that was tip two: read the questions carefully. Okay, we've got some comments. Lavanya is here. She's saying, hello, James. I am late. That's okay to be late. No problem. Anna Maria is just saying hello to everyone. Very good. And okay, all very friendly. Good to see you guys too. Anna Maria is saying reading questions before is super important. Yep, we have to be detailed. We have to be quick as well when we're reading these questions. Um, is this pitch or peach? I'm not sure. Peak Sambath. Hello, everybody. Well, hello to you. Um, okay, he's a fan of Shaw English Online as well. I think this depends, Sleepwalker, again on the test center, how quick the turnaround is. Yeah, it can be different amounts of time. Um, Yeah, so 13 days after the test date for a paper-based test, 3 to 5 days after computer-delivered test. Obviously, times are not set in stone. It can be a little bit before or after, but there we have some times there. Yeah, so some test centers will be quicker than others. Yeah, it depends on the test center. Okay, let's go on to tip number 3, which is in these listening recordings, some information is going to be essential, meaning you really need this. This is the answer. And some of it's going to be non essential. And we have to try and differentiate between those two types of information. And the test sometimes tries to trick you by giving you what you think is the correct answer, but changing that answer a little bit later in the conversation. So we need to try and develop a habit of thinking what is essential, what is non essential. So, for example, if two people are talking about making plans for dinner, the important information is the date or the time they finally agree upon. Other dates and times they considered are not important. Only the final date or time is important. So I'll give you some examples here. And we call these distractors. And these are used in listening tests very, very often. So we've got somebody speaking here. I've left my phone in the car. So you might be listening and say, oh, where did they leave their phone? Write it down. It's in the car. But then later in the conversation, they say, no, wait a minute. I remember putting it down in the hallway after I came home. So where is the phone? It's not in the car. It is in the hallway. So this is a technique that they use in the listening tests quite often. This is what we would call a distractor. It gives one answer, but then changes that answer later. So again, here's a second example we've got. So the kids want to visit Spain for a holiday. However, the best deals this summer are in France, so we'll go there instead. So maybe the question is, where is the family going to go on holiday? And you hear the kids want to visit Spain. Oh, Spain's the answer. But then later, they change that. However, the best deals this summer are in France, so we'll go there instead. Here's the new information. This is the correct answer. Again, let's say it's a conversation where people are giving some information. The question is, what time does the bus leave? And maybe the person in the recording says the bus leaves at 7:45. Oh, sorry, that's the wrong time I was looking at. Your bus leaves at 7:55. So again, if we look here, these are known as distractors. These things are non-essential information. We want to be listening for the important things. So beware in the listening test. There will be information that is not relevant to the answers, even though you think it is. So we have to listen super carefully. And if we look, I've underlined some important phrases. If we hear, no, wait a minute, or however, or oh, sorry, it shows that they're changing the information. So, listening between essential and non essential information is tip 3 for the listening test. Here's another big one. Tip number 4, become familiar with different accents. Now, the IELTS test is originally a British based test, but they have always used a number of different accents. Now, I would say that British accents are the most commonly used on the IELTS test. However, you do get accents from Canada, the USA, Australia, South Africa, New Zealand, Ireland as well. So you should try to expose yourself to as many of these accents as you can. Um, some people find it difficult. If, for example, when you learned English, you only heard American accents, then when you hear Australian or some British or South African accents, you might think they're a little bit unfamiliar to you. So it's really important to practice listening to English from a variety of people, from a variety of countries. So you should try to expose yourself to this. There are various free resources to choose from. You can find podcasts from all of these countries that I have mentioned. You can get British podcasts, Canadian, American, Australian, radio shows. It's very easy to go online these days and listen to radio in a number of different countries. You can watch news programs, BBC, CNN. There's so many websites available with news programs on them. Watching documentaries from English speaking countries. If you're interested in nature documentaries, why don't you watch some David Attenborough nature documentaries? Very useful way to practice vocabulary as well. YouTube videos. There are millions of YouTubers speaking English with many different accents. And you can download some of your favorite TV shows or watch them online. A lot of these are available on YouTube as well. So you can watch dramas using British or Australian accents. So I think the important thing here is not choosing one accent and only listening to that. Try to make yourself open to a number of different accents, because when it comes to the test, you you don't know what accents are going to be used. It could be British, could be Canadian, American, Australian, Irish. So the more familiar you are with different accents, when you hear a new accent, it won't be as big a problem for you. So, tip number 4, become familiar with different accents. Um, okay, so we got I worry about time management, teacher. Yeah, time management can be quite difficult. Um, in the listening, it's a little bit different from other parts of the test, because when you're doing the listening, you should be writing down the answers as you hear them. So the only kind of problem you would have with time management would be at the end of the exam, if you're taking the paper-based test, where you have 10 minutes to transfer your answers. Um, yeah, the rest of the time, you don't really control anything. The listening is played for 30 minutes straight with some breaks in it for you to read the questions. So, yeah, time management is very difficult in the listening when it comes to reading the questions. That is the most difficult part regarding time management, I think, in the listening um, part. Those distractors are very tricky. Yes, Anna Maria, and that is why they are in the test. They are testing, can you understand when people change their mind, or when two sets of conflicting information are given? Can you find which one is correct? So they are very tricky, and that is why they are in the test. Rishfit is saying, "How's everything?" Everything is good. Um, what are you up to? Well, just now I am giving an online lesson. Um, Anna Marie is saying podcasts are great. Yeah, they're a really good way to practice your listening skills. Hello, teacher, the best. Oh, I am fine. Thank you very much. And I believe I have to call you P because I had some trouble pronouncing your name before. So thank you very much, P. I used to watch the Graham Norton show. Oh, okay. That's so Graham Norton is Irish, so you get a good chance to practice listening to the Irish accent. But also, the Graham Norton show usually has British, American, Canadian, Australian movie stars being interviewed. So that is a fantastic recommendation, Sleepwalker, because that one show, the Graham Norton show, you will hear so many different accents. You will hear many different British accents. You will hear an Irish accent because the presenter is Irish. You'll see actors like Liam Hemsworth or Chris Hemsworth from Australia. You get Tom Cruise, you get American actors, you get lots of British actors. That is a fantastic suggestion, I think. Um, where did we go? Okay. Yes, a lot of guests from different countries. Teacher, I wanted to know one thing. Isn't the IELTS test done in all countries? No, it is not done in all countries. However, if you are in a country with, so the only countries that really doesn't have the IELTS test are the really small countries. Um, if you're in a reasonably sized country, you will get the IELTS test offered. So what I mean by that is maybe you don't get it in Nauru or in New Caledonia or maybe these tiny countries, but I would say 90% of countries will have the IELTS test. So yeah, I wouldn't worry about your country not having the IELTS test. Yeah. Benedict Cumberbatch is always so loved on this show. Yes, he is. Very good. I love many shows from England. The Office was so good and funny. Very nice. Um, Morning people, morning Lopez, and we all love Benedict. So there are some good suggestions for you guys. If we're looking for TV shows, we've got The Office here, the Graham Norton show. There's a very good British show called Sherlock with Benedict Cumberbatch and Martin Freeman. That's another excellent show. There's some different British accents in that show. So yeah. And Watching from Haiti. Yeah, very good. Um, okay, it's very hot here today too. Doctor Strange from Germany. Is Doctor Strange from Germany? I did not know that. And we've got, yes, Sherlock. Okay, so yeah, this is a big one. Become familiar with different accents. Let's go on to tip 5. So, tip 5 is don't wait too long for the answer. So, maybe you've read the question and you've identified, I need to listen for this. But if you feel like you've waited too long to hear that answer, it means you've probably missed it. Now, one advantage of the IELTS listening test is that the answers come in order. So if something is at the beginning of the questions, you are going to be listening for that at the beginning of the recording. So if you get to 1 or 2 minutes through the recording and you still haven't heard it, you've probably missed that answer. So that's something that is quite important. So let's look at this same example again. So let's say you're listening here and you hear them talking about the National Arts Centre and you're listening for this, what it is well known for. And you're listening and you're listening, but then you start hear them talking about theatres and cinemas and art galleries. You have missed this answer. So what do? You forget about it. You're going to miss some answers. So remember, the answers will come in order. So if you can hear them talking about this part, it means you have missed this answer. Same again, if you're going for number 12 and you start hear them talking about in 1940 the area was destroyed by bombs. Well, wait a minute, that comes after number 12. I must have missed number 12. Again, it's going to happen. Don't worry about it. So you can work out from the question whereabouts in the conversation you are going to hear the answer. So you're not going to hear this answer down here. This answer is going to be at the beginning of the speech, of the recording. These answers here will be in the middle. This answer here will be near the end of the recording. So if you miss an answer, don't wait for it, because if you're waiting for that answer here, you might not concentrate on the later questions. So that brings me on to tip number 6. Let's say you do miss this answer. What do? Well, the main thing you should never do is panic. If you miss an answer and you start to panic, it's going to cause problems for the next answer and the next answer and the next one. So, if you do miss an answer, try not to worry about it. There's nothing you can do to change the situation. You can't ask them, "Oh, sorry, could you rewind the listening, please? I want to listen again." We can't do that. We don't control it. So there's nothing you can do to change the situation. What you need to do is recover quickly. You've missed the answer, forget about it. If you recover quickly, you will only lose that 1 point. If you panic and start thinking, "Oh no, I've missed the answer," you're going to lose your concentration and you're going to lose more points. So, um, try to stay calm. You've missed the answer, forget about it, keep moving forward. Don't panic, don't worry, listen for the next one. Because at the end, you can always make a guess. You might get lucky. So let's say we miss number 11, but we get the other answers here and we think, "Do you know what? I'm going to make a guess. Let's just say movies." Make a guess. You might be correct. um, Again, let's say you miss answer number 13 and it was 1960s. The center was, let's say, rebuilt, or the center was knocked down. You can always try to make a guess with these answers. You might not be correct, but why not take a chance? So, if you do miss the answer, don't panic. If you panic, it can spoil the rest of the exam and cause you to lose a lot more points. Okay, let's go back here. Um, Lopez is saying, "Teacher, you sound like you have a British accent." Yes, I do have a British accent. I come from Scotland in the UK. So you would hear people describing my accent as a Scottish accent, but that is one of the many, many British accents. So, yeah, I do have a British accent. And we've got a lot of hellos going on here as well. Good. So, tip number 6, don't panic if you miss an answer. Now, number 7 is a very, very important tip. Be prepared for synonyms and paraphrasing. In the exam, they're not going to say everything word for word. They are going to use different phrases that mean the same thing, but are worded slightly differently. So, this is one of the most important listening skills. The recordings you hear in the test will contain synonyms and paraphrasing of keywords and phrases in the questions. So you should not expect to hear exactly the same vocabulary in the recording as is written in the questions. So let's look at a few examples of how the wording can be a little bit different. So let's look here. Let's say the question was, the park was, and then you've got a blank space, 1979. And in the audio, it says, the park in its current form wasn't established until 1979. So it's not saying the park was built in 1979. It's not saying that exactly. It's paraphrasing, but it has exactly the same meaning. The park was built in 1979. The park in its current form wasn't established until 1979. It's the same. The information is the same. So, this is something that we have to learn as a skill. What, what are some common synonyms? What are some ways that we can paraphrase certain sentences? Here's another example. The September celebration day is held to remember the history of the park. Okay, remember the history of the park. The September celebration is a special day to honor the park's development. So remember the history of the park, honor the park's development. Same meaning, just being paraphrased. The Hurricane roller coaster is tall and made of wood. It's the highest wooden roller coaster in the country. So again, highest wooden, tall, made of wood. Tall, high, synonyms. Made of wood, wooden. So they're not exactly the same. Again, the rides with a height limit are coded black. And black, well, this means that you must be at least 110 centimeters tall to ride, regardless of age. So basically, this sentence here is describing height limit. So it's really important in the listen to try to understand the sentences in full and not only listen and repeat, because that's not what the listening is about. It's about understanding fully what's going on and how in English there are a number of different ways to say the same thing. It's about understanding that these things have the same meaning. So, yeah, very, very important to be prepared for synonyms and paraphrasing. That is tip 7. So, Anna Maria has said here it's not just about listening, we have to understand. That is a very, very important point, Anna Maria. It isn't just about listening and then repeating what they have said. No, we have to listen, understand, choose the best answer. So, yeah, that's a very good point there, Anna Maria. Okay, tip number 8, double check your spelling. If you hear the correct answer, but you misspell it, it will be marked incorrect. So, this is something that can be quite difficult, especially maybe with place names or people's names. But yeah, always check your spelling during the transfer time at the end of the test, or if you're doing the computer test, just give everything a quick check before you finish. Um, a w- Something that can be very useful, if you go onto Google and type in list of words that are commonly misspelled, you will find a list of words that people quite often spell incorrectly. Practice spelling those words. Um, it can cost you simple points. So make sure your spelling is good. Double check your spelling before you submit your answers. You don't want to lose a point when you've heard the answer and you know the answer, but you have just misspelled it. So make sure your spelling is good. Um, that is tip number 8. Okay, we're going on to the final 2 tips. Number 9, practice makes perfect. So this is kind of linked to one of the tips we talked about earlier, where about we are getting used to different sorts of accents. So what we mean by practicing here is not only practicing for the IELTS listening test, but just practice listening in general. So improve your listening skills by becoming an active listener. Listen to a variety of English language resources, podcasts, news reports, TED Talks. They will all expose you to new vocabulary and different accents. The aim is to make listening a part of your daily life. So let's say you are commuting to work every day and your commute takes 30 minutes. Well, there's 30 minutes of time. You could get your earphones in and listen to a short English podcast or listen to some news reports. So, TED Talks are quite good for this because they're usually about 15 minutes long. So, if you've not got a lot of time, go and listen to a TED Talk. Um, some podcasts, each kind of episode is 20 minutes. If you've only got 20 minutes, that's fantastic. So think about times that you are free or you're doing something else. Maybe you're driving in your car, have a podcast on, have English radio on while you're driving. So if we're listening every day, the patterns of the grammar, the intonation of the voice, the tone that people use, the differing accents that people use, they will all become more natural to you over time. But if you're only listening once every 2 weeks or 3 weeks, you're not giving yourself a chance to get used to the patterns, get used to the sounds, even giving you the chance to mimic some of the pronunciation. So, making yourself an active listener is a really good way to practice your listening skills. This will help you with the IELTS test, but more importantly, it will help you with your general English listening. So you can find a variety of interesting and fun content online. Start with topics you are most interested in before moving on to more academic material. So let's say, for example, you love movies. Well, Sleepwalker earlier on talked about the Graham Norton show. Well, most of the guests on the Graham Norton show are promoting their movies. So that might be something, it's a good way to practice something you're interested in, listening to people talking about movies. Um, let's say you are interested in sports. Well, go to ESPN.com or BBC.com and watch or listen to some sports podcasts or shows. They're a great way to practice your listening. So, starting with topics you're most interested in is going to make it easier for you. If you start with really difficult academic topics, it's going to be tough for you to have the interest in the subject to listen. So, I always would suggest starting with the topics that you like, then moving on to the more advanced academic material. You can also practice mock IELTS listening tests as well. This is a great way to prepare for the exam. I did 2 mock tests in my live stream earlier this week. I am planning to do some more mock tests in future weeks. So please remember to hit the subscribe button on the YouTube channel, hit the notifications icon, and when those lessons are coming up, you can be notified about them. So, being used to hearing English and being familiar with the test will give you confidence. It will also help you manage your stress and your nervousness while you are taking the test. So, the more you practice listening, the more familiar you'll become with it, the easier the listening test will come for you. Okay, our final tip here is number 10, transfer your answers carefully. So, this tip is not for everyone. This tip is for the people who are taking the paper based test. So, depending on where you're taking the test and depending on the facilities that that test center has, will determine whether you are given a paper based test or a computer based test. If you're given a paper based test, you will get an extra 10 minutes at the end of the exam to transfer your answers to the answer sheet. Now, so many times I've heard of people who've done this too quickly and they've put the answers in beside the wrong numbers. And if you do that, you're getting all of the answers incorrect. So take your time. You would, if you're doing the paper-based test, you will have your 40 answers. It's a matter of you just looking, number one, putting it on the paper beside number one. Take your time, make sure you transfer them properly. If you're taking the computer delivered test, you don't need to do this because you would be typing your answers as you listen. So there are advantages and disadvantages of both types of test. With the paper-based test, you're basically given one more stage where you can make a mistake. That part where you transfer the answers from one paper to another is an opportunity for a mistake to be made. So that is a kind of disadvantage, but you do get some time at the end of the test to do this, which could be an advantage. Um, with the computer based test, you're typing your answers as you go. So the answers are all done. You don't need time at the end. However, that could be a problem as well because you're going to have to type quickly and listen. So you're going to have to multitask. That is something else that is important in the listening test. Writing while listening, multitasking. So, yeah. Both types of listening test do have their advantages and disadvantages, but if you're doing the paper test, please make sure that you are very careful when you transfer your answers. So, that is tip 10 for the IELTS listening test. Let's quickly do a review. Before we do that, and this was a question that came up on one of my previous live streams, and it was about this idea of capitalization. So, obviously, we need to take care with spelling and capitalization. Now, if you're unsure about the correct capitalization, you can write all of your answers in capital letters. So that may make it easier for you. If you just click the caps lock on your computer and type everything in capitals, or when you're transferring your answers, writing everything in capitals, that is okay. So, that is one way you can avoid the problem of capitalization. Write everything in capitals. And also take one last look at your answers to ensure they are accurate and you followed all instructions. So, at the end of the test, we don't want to spoil all of the good work we have done by maybe making a mistake transferring our answers, or incorrect spelling, or poor capitalization. So, tip 10 there, be careful transferring your answers. So, a quick review of our 10 tips. We have to know the test. We need to read the questions carefully. We have to be able to determine what is essential and what is non essential information. We should become familiar with different accents. Don't wait too long for an answer. Remember, the test will run in order and the questions will follow the order of the conversation. If you do miss an answer, don't panic. Forget about it. Move on to the next one. Tip 7 was be prepared for synonyms. Practice makes perfect. Double check your spelling, and finally transfer your answers carefully. So, if we follow these listening tips, we can really improve our IELTS listening band score. Now, obviously, in today's lesson, we have a lot of information all coming at you at one time. So, a good idea, I suppose, is to start with knowing the test. Make sure you do this first. Then spend some time on reading the questions. Then we can worry about the accents and do some practice tests. We can practice some synonyms as well here. And then later on, think about your spelling and transferring your answers. Remember, this is a process. We cannot do everything at one time. We have to do that stage by stage. So, before we go on to the homework, let's look at some comments coming in. Anna Maria has saying, I make many mistakes about spelling when I try to type faster, so double check. So do I. If I type fast, I make a lot of mistakes. So always double check your spelling after you have typed something. Yeah, very, very good to do that. Schedule time daily for listening. Very good suggestion, Anna Maria. Think about things that you're doing as I gave examples. If you're driving to work every day, or you're taking a bus or train every day, use that time to listen to some podcasts or whatever. But a daily time is an excellent suggestion. If you get a lower test result than you expected, it will not be fatal. Don't need to panic. A little preparation and take again. Yeah. So, yeah, I think that's good advice, especially if it's your first time. If it's your first time taking the IELTS test, you're going to be a little bit nervous. So, yeah, don't worry too much. Prepare again and you'll come back stronger. Yep. I think I always encourage students to do this, Anna Maria, by listening to things we like. If you are interested in something, you are more likely to engage with that content. So, if you're not interested in politics and you're just learning listening, that's probably not a good topic for you. It is a good topic for you later because you will have to listen to more complex things, but certainly at the beginning, listening to topics and subjects you like, great way to get the habit of listening. Yeah. The second attempt would be much easier because you know the pattern. Yeah. So, although it's very important to learn the pattern and the format of the test before you do it the first time, it still is going to be a little bit strange because you probably haven't done something like that before. But the second attempt, you will feel a lot more comfortable. The problem is money. It's very expensive here. Anna Maria, I think it's very expensive in most countries. So yeah, um, a lot of people can't afford to take the test three or two or even one time is expensive. So if you can try to be as prepared as you can for the first time you take it, and then hopefully you won't need to take a second test. That would be the plan. Um, yeah, exactly what I said, sleepwalker. It's much better to pass it on the first try. Or I don't really like using this word pass because, yeah, it really depends on what score you need. Some people need a five, some people need a six, some people need a seven. So I suppose it's much better to achieve the score you need on first try. Um, Yeah, it can cause a lot of stress and tension if you put yourself under too much pressure. And I see this sleepwalker with students that say, "Oh, I'm going to take the IELTS test next month." And I say to them, "Oh, how long have you been studying?" And they say, "Well, I haven't started studying yet." And I think they must be crazy because they're putting too much stress on themselves to learn in such a short period of time. You should give yourself at least 6 months to a year to prepare properly for this test. So, yeah, don't put too much stress on yourself. I checked in Russia, it costs about $260. Yeah, I think that's about a kind of average price. It obviously varies from country to country. Some countries are more expensive, some countries are less expensive. But yeah, it is not a cheap test. Okay, you agree. Very good, sleepwalker. All right, so those were the 10 listening tips. Now, what we're going to do to finish off today's lesson is some homework. Now, I am going to read a passage, and this passage is about the topic of volunteering. It's quite a long passage. It will take me about 1.5 to 2 minutes to read all of it. There will be 6 blank spaces in a table. You will fill in the 6 spaces, not 5 spaces, with no more than 2 words. This again is very, very important. 2 words is the maximum amount allowed. So your answers can be 1 word or 2 words. Cannot be 3 words or 4 words. Nope, only 1 or 2 words. So what we're going to do is look at the questions, and if we go back, do we remember? Read the questions carefully, look for keywords, try to predict the type of answers. So I'm quickly going to do this with you. So, first thing that's coming to me, I want to look at the three headings: volunteering opportunity, activity, benefits. Got them. Down the side, English teaching, agriculture and farming, veterinary medicine. Got them. So, those are really important. Now I'm going to focus on the numbers. Helping with English teaching, maybe? That might be the answer. Significantly improve the something of many children and adults. I don't know, but it could be the education. I don't know, the ability. Promoting sustainable and something farming. What kind of farming? Eco-friendly or maybe simple? So that's what I mean. We're trying to predict the answers here. Now, what I've just said here are not the answers. So don't write these down. I'm just trying to show you how we should be reading the question and how we should be trying to use that 30 seconds or so we have at the beginning to predict these answers. So again, promote something farming methods, new farming methods, or promote, I don't know, sustainable farming methods, maybe. Helping the vet with. Well, what would we help a vet with? Maybe help the vet with animals? I don't know. Help the vet with what would you help a vet with? I don't know. The only thing I can think of is animals here, so maybe that would be the answer. Again, here we've got gain a greater something of the difficulties in the country. What word could fit in here? I don't know. Okay. But anyway, the important thing is we've identified this. We've tried to look quickly and make a quick kind of prediction of what the answer might be. Now, remember, when we do this listening, no more than 2 words. So for each blank space, the answer can be no more than 2 words. Okay. Um, so let us, has everybody got pen and paper? This is going to be good. Now, when you do the homework, everybody, I would like you to post your answers into the comment section of this video. So, if everybody is ready, I am going to start reading. As I said, the reading will take about 2 minutes. So, everyone, listen carefully and try to fill in the 6 spaces here. Now, I'm going to tell you about some of the more popular opportunities in a bit more detail. One of the most popular volunteering choices is teaching. You'll find a warm welcome awaits you from our students around the world. The main thing you will do is assisting with English conversation because although the local teachers are very capable of teaching the structural aspects of English language, such as the grammar, they do not use the correct intonation or pronunciation because they lack the confidence of a native speaker. By providing conversational English teaching, you can greatly enhance the learning experience of thousands of children and adults with whom we work in the developing world. You can also volunteer in agriculture and farming. Access to safe and healthy food is a major concern of any society. Volunteers work on a farm with the aim of promoting sustainable local food sources and responsible farming. Using pesticides and other destructive agricultural techniques can have a long term negative impact on the environment and threaten the future well being of whole regions. Time Abroad's agriculture and farming projects focus on organic farming practices and educating local communities on their benefits. You could also volunteer in the field of veterinary medicine. If you do this, you will be working alongside a vet in a local veterinary practice. You will help the vet when people bring in sick animals or join the vet on visits to people's houses or other places. You will gain fantastic insight that would not be possible in your own country. You are likely to see many exciting types of animals like snakes, big cats, or even elephants. And you will develop a better understanding of the problems people are faced with in both urban and rural areas of the third world. So, I hope that this has helped you to learn a bit more about time abroad. Does anybody have any questions? So, let's see how many people could answer the 6 questions. So, as I said before, you can write your answers. You should post them in the comments section of this video on YouTube. Don't post your answers in the chat today. Leave that for the comment section of the video. I will be giving the correct answers in a few days' time. So post your answers and we'll see how many of those you got correct. Now, before we finish today, let us look at a few comments. So Anna Maria is saying IELTS is a long process. Yes, it is, Anna Maria. It takes a long time to prepare. And we've got some agreement with Sambath. Sleepwalker. James, can you recall what is the largest number of times a person tried to take the test and what So again, Sleepwalker, we have to get away from this idea of pass fail. This is not a pass fail. So it's really quite difficult to get an idea of pass and fail here because, as I said before, some people require a score of 5.5. So if they get a 6, that is like a pass to them. But if you require 7 and you get a 6, that is like a fail. So it's very, very difficult to give numbers about pass and fail because it's not a pass fail test. There's not that concept with the IELTS test. You are hoping to achieve a score that will allow you to do something else. So the immigration score for the UK may be 5. If you get over 5, that is like a pass. To get into Harvard University, you need a 7.5. So if you get over that, that would be a pass. So the first question you got here, the largest number of times a person tried to take the test. I actually don't know this, but I know there are people who have taken the test a lot, like 4 or 5 times. But I'm sure there's somebody that's probably taken the test 8 or 9 times. There's always somebody. I remember hearing about somebody taking their driving test 50 times before they passed. So there's probably an example there. In India, it costs about $195, P is saying. So yeah, a big difference between Russia and India. As I said before, each country is different for the actual cost. And Show English Online has very good. Azri Samsu from Indonesia took the IELTS test 10 times to achieve a band of 6.5 and get into his dream Australian university. So there you go, Sleepwalker. I don't know if this is the record, but it is showing somebody there has taken the test 10 times. Excellent. So finally, yeah. So practice makes perfect. If at first you don't succeed, try and try again. Um, so there was 3.5 million in 2018, Robin is saying, and P's saying hello there. Teacher always speaks so clearly. In dialogues, they sometimes mumble. Yes, Sleepwalker, that is a very important thing in the listening as well. Not everybody speaks clearly. Sometimes, yeah, people mumble a little bit. And again, that's there to try and test your listening skills. Can you identify what they're trying to say? Yep. And P is saying, Teacher Robin, I think Robin has taken it once, but I don't know. A driving test can be challenging too. Well, that was one I passed my driving test first time. So I think I was quite lucky when I passed my driving test. Asri Samsu is a goal oriented person, very much so. Sleepwalker, very good. So we've kind of got through all of your comments from today. I hope you found these tips, listening tips, useful. I hope you are going to use some of these when you're preparing for the IELTS listening test. We are going to finish off the live stream today. I will be back in a few days' time. I'm going to be cutting down my live streams to twice a week, I think, from next week. But I should be back during the week with another live stream. Thank you, Sleepwalker. Yes, I take it that's for passing my test, and you are very welcome for the lesson today. So we're going to wrap things up there just now. You're welcome, Lavanya. I hope to see you all in a future live stream. But bye for now.